Every holiday season, we tell ourselves, I'm not going to wait until the last minute to go Christmas shopping. Yeah, well, how'd that work out? If you're short on time and still searching for the perfect present, my friends at 1-800-Flowers.com can still have your arrangement delivered in time for Christmas. Right now, when you order the beautifully handcrafted holiday flower tree, you get 20% off. That's a hand-designed 1-800-Flowers holiday flower tree, 20% off. The holiday flower tree is elegantly designed with fragrant greenery, roses, mini carnations, and a merry red bow on top, making it truly a one-of-a-kind gift. Perfect for spreading joy in your own home or in the homes of your friends and family just in time for Christmas. 1-800-Flowers works with premier farms around the world to ensure you get the best flowers available for the best price possible. 20% off the gorgeous 1-800-Flowers holiday flower tree is an amazing offer, but you gotta hurry. Offer ends Friday. When it comes to meaningful holiday moments, trust in the quality bouquets of 1-800-Flowers.com. To get the gorgeous holiday flower tree for 20% off, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. Hurry, the offer ends Friday.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of discovering the last donut.
Ooh.
And it has your name on it, literally, in chocolate sprinkly things.
No way.
Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
5 days away. Good Wednesday morning. Welcome in to another edition of Golic and Wingo. Glad you are here with us, Trey Wingo and Mike Golic. Once again, you're sporting your Christmas attire.
Yes, I am. I have the sweatshirt with Santa with the bag of toys that says "Secure the bag."
Important.
And let's be honest, there is no Christmas
Yeah.
without Santa's bag of toys. And
Yes.
Isn't that not correct?
Kids, Santa is real.
That's exactly right.
We don't want to ever get the impression that we don't believe that Santa is real.
Secure the bag.
That's important.
And then Christmas goes on.
All right, so we're 5 days away.
5 days away.
Like Monday was a week, but then you get a 5 count. That's on one hand.
Right.
That's kind of a good kind.
You been out at all at the? See, we're past the point. I know
Of caring?
Well, no. Jeez, does Santa have a lump of coal in his thing for you here?
For me, probably.
Or what? Out and about, is it more crowded? I have found that it's more crowded everywhere this week. Are people not working this week, or are they just working a little bit or just don't care?
Well, see, that's the thing. Unlike our business, everybody pretty much shuts down from like the 15th on. Right?
I mean, people at their job, at their workplace, are they even doing work?
No.
Is this like the most
least productive?
There you go. The most least productive week.
Yeah.
The week of Christmas.
Like I said, we live in the same town, okay, here in sleepy rural Connecticut. And there's one main drag where that goes through the center of town, and there's all the shops and all that kind of stuff. You go on that road from like 3 to 5 o'clock, it is nightmare bumper.
Yeah.
It's like the Van Wyck in New York.
The Van Wyck.
It is bumper to bumper for that 1 3-mile stretch.
Yeah.
That 1 3-mile stretch.
It's time. Get that last minute Christmas shopping in.
Yeah.
Either way, secure the bag.
Yeah.
That's what Santa's saying right now.
Yeah. By the way, it not only is it 5 days to Christmas, but it's a Wednesday, which means it's
Hump Day.
It's a hump day to get ready to Christmas.
But man, there's a lot going on.
There is. I guess you could say the Thursday, Friday of the NCAA tournament, those first 2 days are pretty unproductive. But that's like 2 days. We're really in a stretch where it's about 17 to 18 days of lack of productivity outside of the sports business where games go on.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, when you get to what's considered the holiday season, because right after that, obviously, we have the week leading up to New Year's Eve, which I just can't do anymore. I can't say I can't make it till midnight anymore.
You enjoy toasting in that New Year.
Have a great time.
Yeah,
have a great time.
Let me know what happened.
Yeah, see you on the 1st.
I'll fill you in.
See you
later.
on the 1st, because by the way, we'll be sitting in these chairs on the 1st.
We'll be in these chairs in January when the ring in 2018. Obviously, retail and I guess shipping are probably also very busy industries.
Yes, they are. This is when you see the UPS truck with 2 and 3 people on it, and you see deliveries being made in like rental vans because
2 or
they
3
have so
times
much
a day.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're just throwing stuff.
Yeah.
No, they're not doing.
And why do I know that? Because all the boxes are on my doorstep.
Correct. There's a few every day. I come home and like, that's new.
Yeah.
Didn't see that.
And you know what? You know what we have in common with that? All those boxes, none of them have our name on them.
That is also true.
None.
That is also true. They for other people only. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Among the guests we'll have today, Jon Gruden will join us to talk about, his big honor this past Monday, getting into the
cool.
Bucs Ring of Honor. Congratulations to him. Also, all the stuff that's going on in the NFL, including Aaron Rodgers on IR for the rest of the season, and what that means for teams that might need the Packers or teams they play to have a certain outcome for them to have a chance in the postseason. We'll get into him with that. Darren Woodson formerly of the Cowboys, and of course one of our great NFL analysts will also join us. He'll be in studio. What to make of Zeke Elliott's return from suspension,
right.
What the realistic odds are for the Cowboys to maybe make a late season run here and close out with 2 wins. Ryen Russillo will join us as well from the Ryen Russillo Show. Lots going on in the NBA, including the Cavs falling in Milwaukee last night. The news about Steph Curry, not the greatest thing in the world. Not the
greatest thing in the world, no.
And there might be some more concerns there. And Bill Polian will also join us as well in the final hour of the show. So we've got lots to get to. There's a lot of stuff happening, and let's begin as we mostly do with...
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top in the NBA. The Cavs used a 19-0 run in the fourth quarter to take a 2-point lead against the Bucks, all with LeBron on the bench.
How about that?
That may be the most surprising thing, but Milwaukee weathered that storm to hang on to beat Cleveland by 3. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 27, 14, and 8 assists, and is averaging 34, 10, and 6 assists per game against the Cavs this season.
Yeah, good win for them. The matchup between LeBron and Antetokounmpo had been LeBron's team at 13 times to 2 times for Giannis, and he gets his 3rd win here. You mentioned his numbers, and with LeBron on the bench, it was the Cavaliers coming back. Over the final 3:40 of the game, 5 different Buck players combined for 14 points. LeBron had 9 points during that span, but so Antetokounmpo averaging 33, 10, and 6 versus the Cavs in 3 games this season. So this guy is, we talk about the top players in the game, and his name starts to break the surface of that, and now it's where is it going to go? You talk about him being the best athlete, the most athletic in a sport where I think the best athletes in the world are playing. To see what this guy can do, again, it's on in the NBA, you can talk a lot more about the individual basis, but you want to see how far can he bring, and they bring this team along as well. Because the Cavs, we pretty much know where they're going to be. But man, this kid is fun to watch.
Well, he certainly is, and they got decent balanced scoring. Bledsoe had 26, Middleton had 18, and Antetokounmpo had 27. The weird thing about this box score, when you look at it, LeBron had 39 points, 17 more or 18 more than the next highest scorer, and Eddie was -7 on the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that jumps out there. By the way, we talked about those numbers. Antetokounmpo averaging 34, 10, and 6. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, no opponent of LeBron James has ever averaged 30, 10, and 5 against him in a single season. So Giannis doing great things so far with 1 game left, again, against LeBron and the Cavs this season.
Off the Top.
We continue with basketball and Off the Top. And how about this? We all talked about Gino Auriemma, but North Carolina's Sylvia Hatchell beat him to it. I mean, earlier in the day, Sylvia Hatchell of North Carolina got her 1,000th win. Then Gino Auriemma became the 5th Division I basketball head coach with 1,000 career wins, reaching the milestone just hours apart.
It really is. And now there are 5 head coaches in Division I men's and women's basketball. Yep. Pat Summitt leads the way, 1,098, the late great Pat Summitt. Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, has 1,082. Tara Vanderveer has 1,018 from Stanford. Gino Auriemma, 1,000. Sylvia Hatchell, 1,000. The amazing stat about that is the amount of games it took to get to 1,000. Gino Auriemma has 135 losses.
Yeah.
Next closest is Pat Summitt at 186 losses by the 1,000 wins. So the stat out there was Gino could have lost last night and then 49 more straight times. He could have lost before last night 50 straight games and then won his 1,000th game and still done it quicker than anybody else. It is ridiculous what he has going on and what he's doing. So it is. Listen, he's going to go down as the greatest ever. Certainly on the women's side, the way he's going right now, and then when you talk about men's and women's, he's going to be right there. But congrats again, obviously to him and Sylvia Hatchell as well, hitting the 1,000.
Yeah, it is interesting that all the hype was about Gino, and then deservedly so, and then Sylvia did it first earlier in the day. But again, I don't think you can talk about those 2 numbers enough. 1,000 wins against just 135 losses.
Crazy.
He could have, you said 50 straight more.
50 straight. 50 straight he could have lost before that. Yeah.
That's an 88 winning percentage. 88% winning percentage for your career.
Crazy.
That's insane.
It's absolutely crazy what he's doing.
It's absolutely insane. So congratulations to Gino. And again, congratulations to Sylvia for getting there. Getting in there just in time is, again, 4th and 5th.
Off the Top.
All right, we continue college basketball, this time on the men's side. Oklahoma freshman Trae Young, Team Trae, who leads all Division I's players in scoring at 28.8 per game, finished with 26 and 22 assists in just 29 minutes tying the D1 record for assists in a game. It became official in the 83-84 season. But what a game for this kid.
Yeah, there's 3 others that he tied for the 22 assists in Division I history. But with 26 points, he became the first player with at least 20 points and 20 assists in a game in the last 20 years. So, I mean, what a night. And he spells Trey differently.
Yeah, he is. So. Well, in many ways, he's very different.
I would say he's very different, from the spelling of his name to his athletic ability.
To his future as well.
Yeah.
All of those things are very different. This Trey talking to that Trey.
But what a night, huh?
What a night. He became the first player with a 20-point, 20-assist game in the last 20 years. Good for him. We continue.
Off the top.
All right, Pro Bowl announced. Now, let me ask you, when you played, how much did you guys wonder about the Pro Bowl and whether or not you were getting in?
Oh, certainly you did. I mean, it's a cool thing. And I would remember the days where the coaches would come down and tell you who made the Pro Bowl. It would come down in your, whether defensive or team meeting, or by the time you split to offense, defense, come in and congratulate those who made the Pro Bowl. And certainly, I had many teammates when I was in Philadelphia. They were coming and announce making the Pro Bowl, on my defensive side of the ball. The one year, the entire, D line from Reggie to Clyde to Jerome Brown, all making it there, but certainly, the Seth Joyners, Eric Allens of the worlds, and we've had many Pro Bowlers there. So it's a very cool day. For most teams, there were 5 teams. I believe there were 5 teams that didn't have any,
including the Packers, by the way.
Yeah. Well, again, when your main guy, Aaron Rodgers, Clay Matthews has been hurt so much. So that's been very difficult for them to make one. But a lot going on there, because you talk about snubs at times, a lot of first-timers, a lot of, I think one of the more interesting things that happened, 42 years, that the same backfield, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara,
first time since 1970,
both made the Pro Bowl, running backs for the New Orleans Saints, along with their quarterback Drew Brees. So that is very, very cool. We'll get more into that. There's a lot going. There's always the ones who got voted in, then there's always who got snubbed. And remember, the roster is going to change 100 times.
This is a fluid situation.
100 times, because certainly the 2 teams that make the Super Bowl, their guys won't be in the Pro Bowl, and then guys that just will choose not to go. So the list will run deep as far as changes here. So we'll jump into it a little bit more.
Couple of things there. Brady selected to his 13th Pro Bowl, one shy of Peyton Manning for the most selections by a quarterback. By the way, the odds that Brady actually is anywhere near this, even if they don't make the Super Bowl, very small. I think the last time he actually went to the Pro Bowl was in the Cretaceous period. It's been a while.
Been a long time. Yeah. Larry Fitzgerald made his 11th Pro Bowl, second amongst wide receivers in NFL history. Only Jerry Rice, with 13, has more. And congrats to the Jags. They got a number of players, including their cornerbacks, A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey, both Pro Bowl selections, along with Calais Campbell. They had 4 defensive players overall. Very, very impressive, and deservedly so. Out of what they're doing.
And the team with the most was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right. They had 8, but again, lots more to get into with that, and we'll talk about that a little later here as the Pro Bowl once again being from Orlando. ESPN will have it. It's always a fun week down there, the interaction, and I think a lot of the fans and the players like the idea that they can go to Orlando, the Disney World complex, bring their families. It was a good time last year, and I'm sure it'll be a good time again this year.
Off the top.
And we finish up off the top with the news that we sort of talked about a little bit yesterday and was expected, I think, with the way this sort of played out. The Packers have indeed placed Aaron Rodgers on season-ending IR. They announced the move one day after they were eliminated from the postseason, thanks to the Falcons' victory over the Buccaneers.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy, the head coach, said, with all the factors involved, we felt this was clearly in Aaron Rodgers' best interest. He's not happy about it. It's a hard day for him. I agree. It's exactly what I said yesterday. You have to take the decision away from Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Any player worth the salt is going to say, yeah, I want to play, especially he just played in a game, and obviously they lost, so they're out of it. So he absolutely would want to play. So you had to just say, no, you're not. You have to make the decision and not say, well, the player wants to play. Well, no kidding.
Yeah.
You can't make it his decision. And this is, to me, it was the right thing to do. And the way to do it, to have no question about it. Put him on IR, and then there's no issues to talk about. He's done for the last 2 games.
And I think this proves a couple of things. How healthy you are and what you can do is a sliding scale in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because the normal recovery for that broken collarbone is about 12 weeks. He came back in 7. So he was healthy enough to play if there was something to play for. But if there isn't anything to play for, then why would you risk further damage and maybe a more serious offseason injury that may hamper him going into the 2018 season at a relatively advanced age? So there are 2 things always in play when you're talking about the health of the NFL player. Is he healthy enough to get out there?
Right.
And is he actually healthy?
Well, we talked about it yesterday of saying, does he have a better chance to hurt himself playing in this game or next September when he starts the first game of next year? And if there was no difference, then you think about playing him. I think my wife said it correctly as we were talking about this yesterday. She said, here's the question I would have asked the doctor. Doc, let me ask you a question. Does he have a better chance to get hurt if he plays this weekend or is in street clothes standing on the sideline? What does he have a better chance of getting hurt with?
Yeah, it's playing.
Yeah, playing. Okay, he's done. Yeah.
Stick a fork in him.
Make it simple. He is done.
Yeah, and that was Off the Top. It is done. Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. You could, now you will, you could save hundreds on your car, business, or recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com. Now that's Progressive. Okay, I got to be honest with you. I'm missing having Junior here today.
Why's that?
Because, well, he does his show before our show, First and Last. So he's sort of juiced up already.
Yeah, he is.
Now, I am an old man.
Yes, you are.
And so I like to ease into the first hour of the show.
Yeah.
And nothing makes me happier than for him to be all chipper and full of energy and say something crazy, and you look at him like a condescending parent, which, wait a minute, you are.
There you go.
And then you guys go back and forth, and I just sort of sit here and go, you guys, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
You guys fight it out. I'll sort of soak in a little bit of the energy, and then you guys take us to the 7 o'clock hour, and then my day will really start. So really, I'm upset with him for not being here.
You are upset with him.
Because it's making me work harder.
It's actually putting a little bit of responsibility on you.
And I don't have no interest in working harder.
Okay, when you signed up for the show, it was 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern time.
I thought it was 7.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I thought it was 7. I thought we'd ease that 6 o'clock hour.
There's no easing in. You have to do what we like to call hit the ground running.
Well, okay. Fine.
Sorry. And oh, by the way, he won't be here tomorrow or Friday either, so just
what?
Yeah.
What? I was not... Cliff, why didn't you tell me this?
Yeah.
Cliff, why didn't you tell me this?
I don't make these decisions.
You just do the music?
He'll be doing a bowl game.
That's above my pay grade.
Like the bowl game last night, the Bundy Tart
Jerry Chews Boca Raton Bowl, baby.
That one.
It will forever go down as Lane Kiffin reintroducing himself to America.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit. Signed a 10-year extension at FAU. Beat Akron last night 50-3.
Yeah.
Just destroyed him. And the way he goes about it and the talk of him staying at FAU, he's certainly put himself out there. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. And speaking of putting himself out there, Derek Jeter did that.
Town hall time
with the Marlins season ticket holders. Obviously, there's been a lot of angst about the rebuilding Part 3 of the Florida Marlins. They did it after the 97 World Series. They did it after the 2003 World Series win. And they did it after a mediocre 2017 season. So, getting rid of D. Gordon and Ozuna and obviously Giancarlo Stanton, people were very upset. And Derek Jeter had a town hall meeting with Marlins season ticket holders, and it went about as well as you could possibly imagine.
You think? What was amazing is there was media allowed in there, but they weren't allowed to record or do anything there, like, record it with their phone but everybody was tweeting about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do anything that's not going to have some sort of public knowledge of what went on at this thing nowadays, unless, you're saying leave the phones at the door. You got the big baskets that put your phone in there, and they'll still find a way to get it out there. But he took questions for 90 minutes from people who were obviously very, very upset with him. And basically, his main response is you can't throw money at a problem and dig a bigger and bigger hole and not have any depth in the organization. You have to build from the bottom up. And that's kind of what he is saying. They want to build from the farm system more. He thinks that's the way you're going to win consistently. And to do that, they had to rid themselves of all this money. And obviously the people who are down there supporting that team weren't very happy about it at all.
Well, one of them is the guy known as Marlins Man, who shows up at the World Series with that orange Marlins jacket. His name is Lawrence Levy. He's been a season ticket holder since 1993. He says he hasn't renewed his tickets because he won't pay major league prices for, quote, a AAA team, end quote. Jeter earned a laugh from the crowd when he told Levy, I'll let you throw out the first pitch with a 10-year plan. Now, the question I have is, with what they've done to that team, does he actually mean the first pitch of the game or a ceremonial first pitch?
Yeah, I mean,
either one of those is legally or technically still in play with what's going on there.
Yeah, it certainly is. Jeter said the franchise lost too many games and too much money under the previous owner. He said it was not acceptable that they hadn't made the playoffs since 2003. He was asked several times when the team planned to begin spending money again. He said, we will add when we can. So there's your nice answer of no answer at all.
When we can. One of my favorite ones at this town meeting, one fan told Jeter that she emailed her complaints to him, including some problems about surly ushers at the stadium. Jeter's response was, "You don't have my email address."
Yes.
So, I mean, that I'm not sure that was the best thing to say.
Probably not.
He could have said, "Hey, I'll look for that email. Maybe you put it in a generic Marlins fan pool with my name on it. Those don't come to me directly." But recoiling, according to the Wire story, recoiled in alarm, saying, "You don't have my email address." Not sure that was the way to go.
Probably not the way to go. Another fan said, "You act like you ran out of money. You're not going to win here with dancing girls. You're going to win with ball players who know how to win. The fans are alienated. They're upset. That's what you're dealing with here." And that's what they are. And, listen, they have to know that. They were going to make these moves. They knew it was going to alienate people. I don't think there's any doubt about it. So while we got on Jeter for not going to the owners' meetings, thinking he should have been there, was at the Monday Night Football game instead. There is something to sitting in a room with Marlin fans and letting them kind of go after you,
right?
And tell you why they're dissatisfied and mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. That's what I said.
Did you just go full network?
I
movie?
did.
Nicely done.
Absolutely did. It'll be interesting of what the attendance has never been great there.
No.
But what happens now? I mean, how do you get the fans back? The way to get the fans back is to, I don't say win right out of the gate, or winning always helps, but show the effort that you're trying to win. And right now, it's like you have to hit rock bottom before you build back up. And it seems like that's what they're doing here. They're going all the way down. They're stripping it down to the bare bones and having the money, and then trying to build back up. And as Jeter said, a lot through hopefully through the farm system.
Well, look, you're exactly right. What you just said, I mean, I'll give Jeter credit. He came out and said it. This thing took 90 minutes, okay, which is a long time to be out there and getting peppered with questions that are going to be a little uncomfortable. He asked if the team got enough in return for the Stanton deal. He pointed out they got $265 million of relief. And he said, "We gave a gift, right? I hope every gift I give returns $265 million. So he was as blatant as he could possibly be about it, saying we did this to get $265 million off our payroll.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Delighted to be joined now 5 days away from Christmas on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line by Jon Gruden, taking synthetic motor oil performances to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. John, first and foremost, thanks for being with us. Congratulations. I love the fact that you wore the visor.
Yeah.
You had the visor on during the halftime. Obviously, it meant a lot to you. What was going through your mind as that was happening?
I was just really excited. I was down on the field reuniting with so many players that have impacted me, not only the players I coached, but players my dad coached that really brought me up in football, Doug Williams and Jimmy Giles, Scott Brantley. And just to be in that stadium and with the fans again was really cool. And seeing the Atlanta Falcons, who were our arch rivals all those years, was a dramatic night for me, but thanks a lot, guys. It was a great evening for our family, and I'm proud to be associated with the Buccaneers. I thank the Glazer family a lot.
It was very, very cool to see, and you running the play. What was it? The first touchdown of the Super Bowl? Is that what the play was?
Yeah, it was 14 blasts, Mike. We hand the ball to Mike Allstott, the first touchdown in Super Bowl history for the Buccaneers, and we just reenacted that play. The fans love Allstott, and the place was going crazy. It was pretty cool.
Let me tell you, the best thing about that is the fact that you hear plays called today. 14 blasts is a joy to hear because it's a very easy play to call and not, the Y2 banana and all that kind of thing.
Well, that's the case. Did you give any thought to doing Spider 2Y banana? I mean, that would have been the ultimate, right?
Well, we thought about it. We thought about throwing it to Warren Sapp, but Warren's had enough accolades. We wanted to get some offensive guys involved and let Mike Allstott take it home. And Gene Deckerhoff, the play-by-play guy for the Buccaneers, has a great call that he made over the years, Allstott up the gut. It's kind of famous down here in Tampa, so we let Gene Deckerhoff announce the call. It was awesome.
That's cool.
That was great. It was a lot of fun to watch, and congratulations again. So one of the things, John, that was an ancillary effect of the Monday night game when the Falcons beat the Bucs, but it was by that win by Atlanta that the Packers were eliminated from the postseason. And then, of course, the news came down yesterday that they have put Aaron Rodgers on IR. Was that the right call in your opinion?
I don't know the extent of his injury, honestly. Obviously, if he's injured, they're concerned about him. Perhaps it is the right call. But, you know, when I go see the Rolling Stones, I'm paying to see Mick Jagger. When I see Aerosmith, I want to see Steve Tyler up there. When I go see the Green Bay Packers, I'm buying my ticket to see Aaron Rodgers play. So that's how I feel. I feel we're getting paid to play. But if he is injured, look, that takes priority. But I like to see guys play and finish no matter what the circumstances are. I know they'd like to be in the playoffs. But I think running to the finish line with all you have is one of the great accomplishments in a man's life. But hopefully he's okay. If he is injured, I understand completely.
You know, fans certainly would want to see him, and any player worth his salt is going to say, I want to play. And even Mike McCarthy said, Aaron's going to be mad about it. But this is a situation where I don't think you can ask the player, because every player is going to say, no matter what, I want to play. And they took that out of his hand. So he's done for the season. In the game you did, Atlanta gets the win over Tampa Bay, and certainly a close game where Murray misses the 54-yarder. Time's running out to possibly send it into overtime. Falcons now, last two games against New Orleans, against Carolina, can still win the division by winning both of those games. Are you seeing enough good things from them like last year when they made that run, or is that offense still worrying you a little bit?
You know, the thing that really popped at me, Mike, is their running game is as good or better than it was last year. They've run for, I think, 500 yards in their last three games. And they've done it with and without Coleman, who had missed a game and a half with that concussion. But Devontae Freeman is for real. He is awesome. They ran the ball with authority the last 3 weeks. I still think the pass offense is, for some reason, I don't know if it needs an oil change or what, but they drop a pass, they miss a throw, they don't get a blitz pickup. They're not on all cylinders, and I have a high expectation for this Falcon offense. I love the quarterback. I think they have all the arsenal they need, one of the premier receivers in football, perfect complementary players, guys like Mohamed Sanu and Austin Hooper, a young emerging tight end. But I think they're going to have to score more and finish drives better to get to the Super Bowl and win it.
Jon Gruden with us, our ESPN Monday Night Football analyst. And, John, you alluded to that during the broadcast. I mean, there were times where, Julio Jones was a non-factor in that game. And, you see games where he goes off. And didn't he have 259 receiving yards against the Bucs the last time he played him?
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's really not part of it. Can you explain in any way why that offense, which was so prolific and so dynamic, both running and receiving a year ago when they made it to the Super Bowl, that they haven't just had that consistency this year, especially in the passing game?
Well, you look for change. I know they have a new left guard playing. Levitre's out for a couple of weeks. They have a new right guard this season because Chris Chester retired. But other than that, they have almost continuity everywhere. And everybody's looking to Steve Sarkisian as the reason why they aren't clicking on all cylinders. But if you do a study and see how many passes the Falcons have dropped, it would surprise you. They've dropped too many passes. They haven't made the routine plays, I think, that are there to be made. I think they've left a lot of offense out there on the field. I do believe that they're playing a tougher schedule. And Golic will tell you, when you light the NFL up and you win the NFC Championship and you average almost 35 points a game, you become an off-season project for everybody. I would go in and I would steal half of their plays. And if you're playing the Falcons, you study the Falcons day in, day out, figure out how to stop them. So I think people spend a lot of time researching how to stop Atlanta. They're playing a tougher schedule, and they're not making some of the routine plays that I'm accustomed to seeing.
Completely agree. You do that well one year, very difficult to repeat it the next year. We're talking with Jon Gruden on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Again, former head coach in the NFL with the Raiders, won the Super Bowl with the Bucs in 2002 and was inducted Monday night into the Bucs Ring of Honor. Absolutely fantastic ceremony. I've been asking all our football people this, John, going forward with the Eagles. Now, again, Nick Foles has had plenty of starts, and he played extremely well in this last game, but he's got to carry this team as far as they're going to go because Carson Wentz is not coming back. You have more concern with how he will be, if he can be that consistent through the rest of this run, or more concern right now with how their defense is playing?
Well, right now I'm a little bit surprised with how their defense is playing. Their defense had been playing outstanding football early in the season. They've given up way too many points, too many passing yards, and too many open receivers here in the last 2 weeks. The Rams, the Giants, they've moved the ball up and down the field. I don't understand why that is. I'm getting ready to dig into the tape, but that's a bigger concern to me. I think Philadelphia, if they continue to win, they're going to have to do it with a very good opportunistic defense, and they're going to have to play better, obviously, around Nick Foles because he is a new quarterback, but he's very capable. He's put a lot of good tape out there, and Doug Peterson, Frank Reich have done an excellent job keeping defenses off balance with their balanced attack. They can run it and throw it.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing about the Eagles. Nick Foles basically did what Carson Wentz did every week on average in that game. I mean, he had 4 touchdown passes. Wentz averaged 2.5. Their completion percentages were about the same, Foles versus Wentz, and the yardage was about the same, and the conversion rate on third down was almost identical, 46% for Foles against the Giants, 45% for Wentz on the season. That's the second of the 2 games on Christmas Day. It'll be the final Monday night game of the year, Eagles against the Raiders. But John, the first game is the Steelers taking on the Texans, and that was an epic showdown that we saw Sunday at Heinz Field between the Patriots and the Steelers. But I can't help but notice that the Steelers, whether it's Ben Roethlisberger one day or Mike Tomlin now saying the catch rule needs to be addressed, John, they're still talking about this game Sunday. They can't do anything about that game. If they want to make sure they get a first-round bye and get at least the 2 seed in the AFC, they've got to worry about the remaining 2 games on the schedule. And it's kind of a stark contrast in how the Steelers are handling the end of that game as to how, say, Bill Belichick would have handled that game. You know, he had the famous "we're on to Cincinnati" rant after the Kansas City loss in Monday night in 2014, and that sort of got them in the right mindset to go back and go ahead and eventually win Super Bowl 49. Are you concerned that the Steelers are still dwelling on what was and not focusing on what will be?
Not really. I don't know that Mike Tomlin's still talking about it today. I think sometimes you make a comment or two a day after the game, and sometimes us in the media, we continue to play the same soundbite over and over. I think the drama of that game was the end of game. Was it a catch? Is it a catch? What's the process of a catch? What happened on the very last play of the game? What a way to lose a game and lose Antonio Brown. So there's a lot of, I think, crazy feelings swirling in the minds of Mike Tomlin and certainly Ben Roethlisberger. You hate to lose a game like that, and it's going to take you a day or so to get over it, but I'm sure they're going to take a look at what's ahead on the schedule, what they're able to accomplish here in the future must be exciting. So let's move on, but I think they'll do that.
Okay, so do we need to move on from the catch rule then? Because I think we can all agree it was the proper application of a rule that's come under a lot of scrutiny. And again, when you were coaching for a lot of your years, this was not the rule. It was a different rule. Do you like the catch rule as it's presently in the rule book?
I'll tell you what I like. I like letting the officials on the field call the game like we used to in 1969 or 1970. Take the microphones off the officials. We don't need to know who made the tackle or who was involved in the penalty. I don't know if it's a penalty, if it's a fine, if it's a suspension. I don't know if it's a catch 2 feet in. Did he complete the process? I mean, there was a game Sunday night. Is it a first down?
Yeah.
Do you replay it? Do you review it? Where do you spot the ball? Do you use an index card to figure out if it's a penalty or a first down? I don't know. There's a lot of confusing rules. I know we're trying to get everything right, but I learned a long time ago. The more you try to make everything right, the more you get it wrong. The more rules you have, the more rules you have to enforce, the more confusing it gets. That's my opinion. I'm glad right now that I get to go back to my work and I don't have to talk much more.
You know, it's a pretty good opinion to go back a little bit, and because you're right, every rule that you make, you're putting a little more pressure on the people calling it to try and enforce the rules. And along those lines, now this is something a coach would have to deal with. We saw the Thomas Davis hit on Adams and the suspension that went and the crackback. And again, rules have changed from the crackback block and some of the hits that are going on, hits above the neck and all that. And we understand the rule change for the safety. Forgetting all that, I'm not asking you about those rules. What I'm asking you as a coach, especially in today's game when nobody is practicing full tilt and nobody is putting pads on anymore and hitting, how do you, because we have players right now who are crossing over into this new era of football. Some of them played in the old style when all that stuff was legal. How do you coach the players now to say, I know this was legal a few years ago, guys, it's not legal now. We really can't work on it on the practice field anymore. How do you get it into their heads about some of the changes in the hitting rules?
Well, it goes back to spring practice, training camp. You have to have officials come in and explain the emphasis. You have to have coaches, position coaches, enforce the emphasis, then the coordinator, then the head coach. The players have to police themselves. That's a big part of this. And education is a big part also. You got to show videos over and over again. Like Al Davis taught me when I was coaching the Raiders, you have to cover reading, writing, and arithmetic. You just can't install plays. You just can't go out and call plays. You got to talk about, hey, let's review goal line, what we're going to do in 2 minutes. Hey, let's take a look at player safety. Let's take a look at illegal hits from last week. Let's look at pass interference. Let's understand that every day we have to make some application of player safety and what the rules are. And we got to continue to remind players. But I do think a lot of penalties that I'm seeing are being enforced with this super slow motion, this instant replay that we look at. I don't think you can officiate the game using that real ultra super slow motion camera. I don't think it's realistic.
John, I think you're right. I think it's very unfair to the officials and the players. I go back to the hit Kiko Alonso put on Joe Flacco in that Thursday night game. You know, they showed it in slow-mo 100 different times, and it looks awful in slow motion. But then after the NFL reviewed the play, he was flagged for it, obviously. You're going to get the flag there. Right. But he was not fined. He was not suspended because by the rule, Joe Flacco slid late, and in real time, there's nothing else Kiko could have done. That's why he wasn't suspended, and he wasn't fined for that play.
That's right. And, you know, when you watch, is it pass interference? Is it not pass interference? A lot of times when you look at it at that super duper slow motion, I mean, it always looks like pass interference. But when you look at a replay, I think we should have to look at it more often than not at real speed, just to give a true picture of what happened on the play.
All right, John, we appreciate you being with us. We're looking forward to the conclusion of the Monday night schedule this week, Raiders and Eagles. And once again, congratulations on a really, really big honor for you going into the Bucs Ring of Honor. I know I'll be talking to you throughout next year as we get forward and looking forward to the draft in April. Have a great, great Christmas and a great holiday, John. Appreciate you.
Thanks, John.
You too, guys. Merry Christmas to everybody.
You got it, buddy.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It is time, ladies and gentlemen, now for...
Over, Under, with Golic and Wingo.
All right, little over under. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's start.
Over.
Okay.
Oh,
thank you.
Sorry.
Let me give you the question first.
Okay.
But I think you may be right here. Over under 2.5 teams from the NFC South to make the playoffs.
I'm trying to figure out a way to go under with that, but I think I am going to go over. Right now you sit there. You have the 3 in right now. The Lions sitting at 8-6.
As are the Cowboys.
As are the Cowboys. So the winner of the Seahawks-Cowboys will still only have 6 losses. The Lions have 6 losses. Panthers and Saints have 4. Falcons have 5. So if the Falcons get to 6 losses, they beat the Lions. this year.
Right. On that crazy play.
Yeah.
But if you're the Lions, if you think about it, that was the 10-second runoff where they called Golden Tate in for a touchdown.
Right.
With under 10 seconds to play. They reviewed it. They saw that he didn't get in, and the 10-second runoff meant the game is over. So the Lions were actually penalized because the call was wrong on the field to begin with.
Yep. You're right. That's amazing if that were to be the play that would come back, to haunt there as well. The Cowboys, if they end up tied with Atlanta, the Cowboys lost to Atlanta as well. So Atlanta holding the head-to-head there as well. And so and Atlanta beat Seattle as well. So of all the teams they could tie with, they beat them head-to-head. So I am going to say over. I'm going to say the three teams in the NFC South make it.
I think we had three teams from the AFC North a couple of years ago make it. I'm not sure if it was 2011, 2012, or 2013, but the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Steelers all made it. I'm going to go over as well because I think, look, too many things have to go wrong for so many other teams where the tiebreaker is against them, that I think it's much more likely we'll get three from the NFC South as opposed to two. Okay, how about this? 6.5 wins consecutively for Jimmy Garoppolo as a starting quarterback. Right now, he is 5 straight wins as a starting quarterback, 2 with the Patriots in 2016, and 3 straight as a starter for the San Francisco 49ers. Their remaining schedule, Jags at Rams.
Yeah, there are no chance. No chance. Jacksonville, that's one's at home, and then they go to Los Angeles, obviously staying on the West Coast, to play the Rams. We'll see what the Rams are playing for at that point, where they are. They're going to be definitely, if they're trying to play for home or wherever they're going to be, I think they're going to be playing this game for real and not sitting people. I think they have a good chance they lose both those games. Yeah. So I absolutely go under on that. I don't think he's going to win any more this year.
I'll go under just because of the teams they're playing.
Oh, exactly.
And to your point, we don't know what the Rams might be playing for in that final week. By the way, in sort of a weird way, he's the first quarterback to win his first 5 NFL starts since Ben Roethlisberger. Now, we have to caveat that, A, Jimmy's not a rookie, and B, it's over 2 seasons. Ben, I believe, won 13 straight that year. It was a ridiculous number as a rookie. Was it 15? Was it 15? Wow, was that many?
Had that great running game and great defense to help him out. Remember, they were like, you don't need to throw too much, Ben. We got other ways to win. And now, Ben's hoisting it 60 times a game.
Well, that was he came in for touchdown Tommy Maddox that year. And I think it was Alan Faneca who said at that time, man, I'm not sure how we're going to win with this rookie.
Yeah.
Well, you ripped off 15 straight.
He's doing pretty well.
They actually had home field advantage that year for the AFC Championship game against the Patriots, and the Patriots went in there and beat them. Deion Branch had a big game in the AFC Championship game that year. Over Under brought to you by Amazon Music Unlimited. For a limited time only, sign up today and receive 3 months for 99 cents at Amazon.com/music unlimited. It was 13 in that season.
Right.
They were telling me. All right. So it was 15 total because they didn't lose until they lost in the playoffs, but 13 over 2 seasons, 15 over 2 seasons, 13 straight. I thought it was 13 straight because I think they went 15-1 that year, 14-2. It was some ridiculous
It's already
number.
out of my mind.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, make it easy.
That's the key to survival.
That's it.
Think about it and get rid of it and go.
Kind of like in school. Once you take a test and once you get your grade, anything it's gone.
That would mean it's like the draft. I know everything about every player for the draft, and then 2 weeks later, what was that guy?
Who was that? Where did he go?
What was his name?
Yeah.
Didn't he have a story?
Yeah.
Wasn't there something? He didn't have a third brother twice removed from a cousin's side. It just all goes.
Yeah, it's gone.
All right, this one's interesting. What was the deal Lane Kiffin signed?
10-year extension.
Yeah. We're giving him 1.5 years remaining at Florida Atlantic.
Over under 1.5 years. I think it'll be over. I think it'll be a couple of more years. There's no chance on God's green earth. That deal is still 2027, so it's a 10-year deal that he's there until then. So I would say I'll go over. I think it'll be at least 2 years. He says he's building something there, but he can only go so far, and he knows that there. They had a great year. Won last night in the
a Cheribundi Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl.
50-3 over Akron, and they were favored by like 22.5 in that game. He plays a wild game. He plays a play every 15 seconds.
Went
He's onside kicking.
For it when he was how old?
Goes for it on for 2. Goes for it on 4th down just about all the time. So it's pretty wild. One other quick college note we can get into a little bit. This is the first year they're doing an early signing period. Normally it's the first Wednesday in
February,
but today it started just 38 minutes ago Eastern time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, where players could actually sign between Wednesday and Friday of this week is the early signing period for whatever you did that first Wednesday in February. You can do right now. You can sign with a team. This is the first time they're doing it, so we'll see what effect it could have on players, who teams and players actually want to commit right now to that signing period.
Yeah, and they'll still have the other signing period in February.
Still that one as well.
It used to be this was just sort of an oral commitment time now.
That's all it is now is this oral. Are you going to come? We want you. Okay, I'll come there. And then you could change it in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
So this is an actual signing period, 2-day signing period before the one in February.
All right, let's move on and over-under. I think this one is really interesting. 100 yards on the ground for Ezekiel Elliott Sunday in his first game back from a 6-game suspension.
Well, I mean, you look at what the Rams just did against
what Todd Gurley
Seattle
and
Todd Gurley did. So, and, Dallas, we know about that offensive line, maybe not playing as well as they did last year, but again, 3 Pro Bowlers in Smith and Fredericks and Martin. So I think it'll be over. I think it'll go over 100 yards. Let's be honest. He has fresh legs, right?
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Says he's lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he'll go over. Now, he predicted 200 yards.
Okay, well, D.D. Westbrook said 200 receiving yards in his first game for the Jags. He came up like 170 yards short.
Yeah, Eric Dickerson, who was in Cabo helping Zeke train, said you're not going to get 200 yards, and they have a little bit of a wager on this having to do with jerseys. I don't think he's going to do that, but I do think he'll go for more than 100 yards.
Well, he's averaged 98 yards per game in 8 games this season, and he has 4 games over 400, including 3 of his last 4. So he was rolling right at the time the suspension hit. He will have fresh legs. I think I'm going to take the over as well.
Yeah.
Just because of who they're playing. Seattle looks like a team that is just, they're beat down.
Right.
They got too many issues with injuries and the little fighting going on with Earl Thomas and Bobby Wagner. Don't talk about my injury. There's a lot going on there. Okay, how about this one? This is actually a good one. 7 a.m., the time you'll wake up in the morning after you retire. Kobe says he still wakes up at 4 a.m. every day to work out. Does he want to do this show then?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Come do this show? Because I'll do. I tell you what, Kobe, if you want to work that hard, come on in, baby. Golic's a great guy, good-looking dude. We'll let you talk as much as you want. You might like this. Maybe we'll just switch it up for a little bit.
It's week 4, man. Week 4. You're in week.
I love you though.
4.
I love you though.
Listen. I would love to, if my body will let me sleep in till 7 a.m., and I can do that on the weekend, I will sleep in till 7 a.m. I'll be interested to see how long that lasts for Kobe.
Yeah.
Getting up at 4, working out until you're getting up at 4, you hit snooze. Now you're getting up a little later to where, you're not getting up at 4 anymore. You're not even setting the alarm for 4 anymore, and you are getting up at 7. It'll happen. It's just a matter of when, but I would love to sleep till 7 o'clock when I'm done with it.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold.
It's very interesting where that went.
Those are the dulcet tones of Ryen Russillo.
Good point.
The Ryen Russillo Show joins us, the Ryen Russillo Show joins us in studio, giving us a Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Look, what was the Home Alone? Were they the wet bandits? Wasn't that the thing?
Yes.
So they made sure the water was running. Hopefully this is the opposite of that. And like you said, they clamped it off.
Turn the water off right there. It's just right there.
So he was courteous in taking the toilet.
Let's hope.
Well, you know it had to be like an amazing toilet.
Right.
It's like a Levitard level.
Like I said, it's got to be some sort of gold-plated thing or something that's where you're not taking something that's not worth anything going through that trouble. So, all right, we got a lot of, before we get to the secondary stuff of sports.
We're doing Die Hard as a Christmas movie?
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
We've gone through that a million times already.
Yeah, it is not.
It came out in July, I think.
It did come out in July.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. I think that makes it not a Christmas movie.
Completely agree.
All right, Christmas movie comes out around Christmas.
There's a few things we have out there for Christmas.
Okay.
Fake tree, real tree.
I'm so anti-fake tree, it's not.
You are?
Yeah, I don't, look, I haven't put up a tree in my house ever.
So you're just anti-tree?
No, I just, what am I doing? Like, I don't have anybody over, so
just to look at.
I'm supposed to by myself just put up a tree.
For the rest of us.
Mike lives alone in the area by West Hartford. He put a tree.
Mike's a happier kid. I don't. Yeah, but even having said that, I would never just put up a fake tree. I think it's like, what are we, Russian? We can't be doing that.
We gotta be Russian.
Is that the litmus test for Russian citizenship?
I do now, but I agree with you.
You do a fake tree now?
Because
that's so not you, Golic.
I know. Well, here's a reason, Ryan, and there's a reason. I dried out too many real trees. My wife gave me every chance in the world. My tree became a needle-dropping fire hazard when the kids were younger in the house, and she said, I'm not going to have this in my house. You get a fifth chance.
You went 0 for 5?
Yes, I did. So it was my own fault. So we've had a fake tree ever since. All right.
I am also on the fake tree camp. I was just told we're getting fake trees. So we move on.
Yeah, well, that's just why
this surprises me.
Yeah, we had the real tree for many years, and then it's just so much easier. We just did it that
way.
If you know nothing from this, whatever's easiest, that's what I'm going for.
On Christmas Day, all the food you can eat, you can have whatever you want, but of these two things, you can only choose one.
Okay.
Eggnog, and you can spike it if you want, or ham.
Ham. Love a good holiday ham.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Not a big eggnog guy.
Do you like eggnog?
Not really.
Yeah. Okay.
Eggnog's it's a very eclectic niche, but you only get it this time of year. That's why I thought it might do better in the poll, but ham is just
eggnog feels very anti-millennial.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, if you had said a pumpkin deal, maybe you can make it a pumpkin. Eggnog pumpkin's pretty big right now, just in general. But yeah, ham.
Okay. If you had a choice for all of December, each Friday of December.
We're doing this again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Each Friday of December.
I need a pen?
No.
Okay.
You would have to go out with a group caroling in your neighborhood. Or you would have to put those stupid antlers on your car and have them on your car the entire month of December.
Well, I'm going to go caroling because I've actually done it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, good for you, brother.
Classically trained, base 2, high school, went around, Vineyard Christmas.
Nice.
Caroled, nerd alert.
Wait a minute, classically trained?
Yeah.
In what way?
I was a singer. Yeah.
So was I, by the way, in high school. I was a singer. I was.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I went to Germany. I wore a little gold tux and danced around
You were
Stuttgart.
second base? I was a second tenor.
Really?
That's impressive.
Yeah. Well,
puberty?
Back in the day.
A little later?
Yeah.
In the spring.
As I said before, I was a late bloomer. So,
you were second tenor. Second base.
I was a first tenor for a while.
In spring, I was a second baseman.
There you go.
Yeah.
A little different.
Hey-o.
Little different.
I still played sports, though, too. Yeah.
That I did not know that about you.
Yeah, it's weird. And I actually, here's the thing. I was really into it.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
If you could sing, listen, I've always said athletes want to be entertainers, entertainers want to be athletes. If I could have a voice where
But you have a good voice. You're like Bo Jackson.
But not a good enough voice where 20,000 people are going to pay to come hear me sing. I would love.
That's a little different level.
Yeah.
All right. So we're good?
Yeah.
We're good. Just checking.
Well, we do have a new poll question out there.
Well, why not?
What would you rather do? The outside lights, hang them all up, or cut down the tree and put the tree up and decorate the tree?
See, this is actually
more
amazing.
annoying.
Like, with these questions, you always kind of wonder, like, all right, but then as we've gone through them, I've done almost one of the things every time.
Right.
That's okay.
So my father, grew up as a humble bricklayer and then transitioned into carpenter and then, decks and then nice homes. So, but he was also basically a Viking his entire life. So we had a stretch. Yeah, we had a stretch with my father where we would go Griswold style and find some place off a highway and pull over and chop down a tree and throw it in the back of his F-150.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
We did it all the time until you don't, like when you're young, you're like, yeah, this is normal. You just go to somebody's land and steal a tree. Right? and as you get older, you start having a little bit more self-awareness where maybe you're like 13 and you're sitting there having lunch with your buddies and you're like, hey, did you guys put up your tree or whatever? We're like, yeah, my dad and I stole one, in Colchester or whatever. And then you're like, what are you talking about? Like, don't you just go to a tree fair? They're like $20, aren't they? I mean, the late 80s.
Yeah.
Your father can't pay. I'm like, I don't think we're poor. I think we could afford the $20 tree, but he's just against it. So I've done that. I've cut down trees. I've stolen trees. I'm sorry. Retroactive. I think the statute of limitations is out. Yeah. So I would rather cut down my own tree. I've done it before. Because I think the light thing is something that every guy thinks they'd be really good at.
Until you do it.
And then they put up the ladder,
and
they've got the staple gun, and then you're like a few strands into it. And
one bulb is out. We got to get the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
I'm with
Okay.
you.
So I think we've run through the gamut of all Christmas options with Ryan. I do love the fact that they just went and found a tree wherever they wanted to. That will stick with me.
I think it's great.
All right, let's talk about the NBA a little bit here. The Cavs have won 19-21. But they did have the loss last night, even though they had a 19-0 run in the fourth quarter. They get Isaiah Thomas back. Are we buying that this Cavs team might be as good as we've seen the last couple of years? Or getting Isaiah Thomas to play for the first time.
Yeah, the Isaiah Thomas dynamic is going to be really interesting because when you look at Cleveland, this stretch has been LeBron's efficiency, which you could argue statistically he's having the best season of his career.
Which is crazy.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's no, you could say, hey, could we have 7 minutes on that? And Trey just summed it up in a sentence. What else are you supposed to say about that? But they're still a bad defensive team. So, yeah, they started 5-7, and they've won all these games, but it hasn't really mattered that they've been so bad defensively because they've been so good on offense. And last night, they were down 20, and I'm watching that game. That was the entire bench. The bench brought them back. So the bench has been really good. Wade has picked it up. Crowder's starting to get going after a really slow start. So this team has more depth. Isaiah I think it's great in the playoffs now. How many different scoring options do you have? He'll add another one. He's not going to have the numbers like he had with Boston, because in Boston he had no clear number 2 option. I think people need to remember that. You're not just plugging in all of Isaiah Thomas's points, because Isaiah had nobody else that really wanted the ball like he did. The Boston's setup last year was very unique in that it was just this one guy. So I still think they come out of the East, but unfortunately for Cleveland, guys, all we're doing is looking at them saying, can this team defend Golden State?
Well, I want to get to Golden State in a minute, but to your point, can you not glass half full look at it and say, well, boy, if you can trust the bench a little more, because God forbid what happened when LeBron took a 2-minute break last year
in the playoffs.
And what happened?
Right.
So
terrible.
If we say, okay, this bench is giving them more, don't you just kind of say, okay, that's a huge positive for this team?
It's a huge look. We are in total agreement on that one. And last night's just a perfect example. The bench gave them 22 straight points, I think, in the fourth quarter, and they didn't bring LeBron back until about 4 minutes to go, and that was actually going to be an amazing Cleveland win considering how bad they were doing against Milwaukee for the bulk of the game. So I am with you. Dwayne Wade accepting this role, them going smaller late, getting Tristan going again at some point, Isaiah, and this becomes a little bit more matchup specific with this stuff, but Isaiah's not going to come back and fix their defense. Right. But at least it feels like if they have guys that are healthy at the end of the year, as great as Boston has been, and they're slipping a little defensively because they were off the charts the first month, and how well the young players have played, it still feels like it's Cleveland's East. And, I don't know that that's really changed anything, even though the pieces have changed.
Well, is there any thought that maybe with what we've seen from the Rockets and the Warriors, they're dealing with the injury to Steph Curry and all that kind of stuff, it will be a tougher road for them out of the West, which may help the Cavs should they meet again in the finals for the 4th straight year?
The Warriors thing, when I'm watching them, and I'm sorry that I hesitate on the answer.
No, it's all good.
I was talking to a Warriors source last night, right? And I go, what's going on with just how the guys are doing? And it's just, nobody wants to say anything that puts them in a quote that I'm using here on your show. But you can sense that this Golden State team is just, let's just make sure we're healthy. Let's take our time with these guys, and we'll worry about Houston when we have to worry about Houston. That's the general sense that I get. It's not necessarily, a quote that I can use. It's more of a Golden State is not worried about their position. They're not going to be worried about Houston or getting through Houston until they have all of their guys. And I think for a lot of the people that don't love Curry, Trey, you're seeing Golden State look a little different now. You're realizing, man, when Steph is out there, everybody on defense has to kind of keep an eye on him. 2 people chase him around a screen, and now it's kind of just Durant doing his own thing. And I hope this is proof again of how amazing Steph is. So if you're asking me, does Cleveland look at this and go, maybe it's a Houston or something like that? Sure, I think every team would rather play Houston than Golden State, but I'm not sure that we're seeing a Golden State team that's as locked in as they've been the last few years.
So let's let them get locked in. Let's say they're healthy for the playoffs. The way Houston has been playing, how much of a chance can you give them in a 7-game series?
Houston was always about defense. Right. It was, are you good enough defensively for me to take you seriously? Not only with the changes that Daryl's made, and Daryl Morey is once again, he finds ways to make his teams better in really adventurous ways. And they brought in some other pieces after Chris. They feel like they have a lot of guys that can switch and specifically defend Golden State. But I have to see Harden and I have to see Paul, even though I love Chris Paul and been a huge defender. I don't like hearing about how he's never been out of the second round, although, accurate.
Yeah.
I've got to see that in a playoff series when it's real, what time.
Right.
Against Golden State.
Well, the interesting thing there is we always look at Golden State as this 3-point shooting phenomenon, but the Rockets could shoot a 2-pointer for their next 774 shots. 774 shots and still have the highest 3-point rate in the league, and they're not even 30 games into the season. That's insane.
As you said it to me, I looked down at your producer screen to go, is that right?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know where you would even start to do it. But Houston's defending much better. Statistically, defensively, okay, this is something I can take seriously now. And you get worried. I think no matter who you'd get worried to be like, are they going to hit shots enough in 4 games? There's just nothing we can do. But Golden State can match that. And Golden State has always been about defense this entire run. So I think Golden State is still easier to buy in as a defensive playoff team until I see it from Houston.
Ryen Russillo joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, yet he's not on the line. He's actually in the studio. Well,
is he a hologram? Because it looks like he's here.
But you know what happened?
Yeah.
That just disappeared from the screen because I just said it. There you go. Obviously, the Ryen Russillo Show.
Welcome back to the curtain.
1997 graduate, University of Vermont, former play-by-play of the Trenton Thunder.
How about
Yes.
that?
Nice, huh?
Who was with the Trenton Thunder at that time? Anybody we know?
There's a lot of guys on the other teams.
Okay.
Freddie Sanchez came in right at the end. Nomar had been there long before I was there.
Garcia Parra?
Yeah. Casey Fossum had been there. Justin Sherrod, I think, was on The Bachelorette. He never made it to the show.
But he made it to The Bachelorette.
Either way, he found the stage. Good for him.
I don't know if I ever told you guys this, and I've told the story before as I fall off of it.
Yeah.
I'm not used to sitting in this chair here in the studio. So I get down there, and they go, okay, what do you want to do? I said, I want to work in sports. So I was bartending at this point. So it's 02. I get down there. I'm like, yeah, I want to work in sports. And they go, what's your background? Well, I was like, internship a couple years ago. And
I'm a second.
Yeah, right.
Second base.
Yeah, right. Second base, not out in the field. And that actually played into it, Golic, because they said, well, we don't really, can you do sales? I go, well, I don't want to do sales for a minor league baseball team. If I want to do sales, like I'd get a job where I'd make money.
Right.
Like the polo shirt is cool and all, but we need something else.
That should not be my paycheck.
Yeah, right. And they go, well, do you want to call the games? Like, why would you let me call the games? I've never announced a game in my life. And they go, nobody listens and you got a deep voice. So that's how I got on the air. Like, that was my job.
That's awesome.
I called somebody and they go, though, that's a lie. And I go, no, the point is that they said, if you sell tickets, if you sell ads, we'll let you call the home games. And I went, you've got to be kidding me. And so it was not lucrative. Financially, I did not make it 6 months. And then when they told me I had to dress as the mascot on days where he wasn't going to be there. Yeah. No. And they told me too, they go, in the interview, we told you'd have to be the mascot some days. I go, I am so stupid. And my ego is such that I would have turned down an on-air play-by-play job in AA.
What was
it was this huge bird that had a hula hoop. I think the hula hoop belly thing has just been in for a while for mascots. Yeah. And I remember I had to fill in for the mascot doing an event in an elementary school. So I show up to work. I'm getting ready to cold call and sell tickets. And one of our community leaders comes up to me like, hey, you got to do mascot today. And I go, dude, I don't want to. I really don't want to. Like, it bums me out. Like, I'm going to be depressed.
That is unreal.
They go, look, you agreed to it. And I go, I know I didn't agree to it because you never told me in the interview, and I was adamant about it, but I go, okay, I'm not going to freak out about this. And I hadn't called a game yet.
Right.
So
good for you that you did that so you can call a game.
But here's I show up with a hockey bag to the elementary school. So this is 2002. I'm 25, 26. Yeah, 26. And I show up, hockey pants on, hat on backwards, and there's a couple young teachers, really cute, and they come up and they're like, "Man, you're with the Trenton Thunder," and I'm like, "Man, I must look great today."
Wow!
And they go, "What?" After a few minutes, they go, "What position do you play?"
Oh, there it is.
And I go, "Oh, this is the mascot outfit in this bag," and it was like crickets.
Wow. Yeah. That's a tough call.
The look on their faces.
But that first on air, that's pretty cool.
Can
I ask the question I've always wanted to ask someone who had to wear a mascot? The smell had to just be
putrid.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you just can't.
Those things are not washed enough.
No,
those things are not washed enough.
You can't get that stink out. It's awful. And
by the way, for those not seeing us on the
he's like glazing
the look
over.
in his eyes is just like traumatic stress.
It's taking you back.
Don't do this to me.
Let me get you off that. I'll go back to the NBA so you don't have to.
Were you afraid I was about to lose it there?
Your glazed look in your eye was a little scary. All right, all the players we talk about that are moving around to try and change the landscape here or there to try and do something to Golden State. Anthony Davis. When is he gone from New Orleans, and where's the best landing spot for him? Because we know he's not going to be there much longer.
The only way, here's the deal. Anthony Davis isn't and hasn't really ever shown that he's had that kind of personality. That's what happens in the NBA. Part of building a team is, do I get lucky in the draft? Am I a free agent destination? And now you're not a free agent destination unless you already have stars in place.
Right.
Like, you can't start with zero unless you get three guys to come together like they did in Miami years ago. So what you also have is, do I have enough pieces in place if a superstar decides that he's had it? That's happened with Garnett. It's happened with Melo. There's a list of guys that have just decided, I can't do this anymore. You better trade me. Davis, to this point, hasn't shown any kind of personality to do that. And even though the injury history is a little scary, I feel like he's overlooked Like, we start doing this who would you rather have 25 and under deal, and you go, if Davis is healthy, for me, it's not a debate. Embiid, Simmons, Towns, Porzingis, Giannis. I would take Davis. I mean, the closest one might be Embiid, but that's another health issue. So Davis is going to have to start getting real chirpy for him to even force his way out of there, because he's under contract, and he, if healthy, could be the best player in this league. And if you're a GM, you're losing the trade every time. You will lose that trade, and you will likely get fired when you're trading that guy. So if he's still okay showing up to work and he's not a malcontent, then you still keep him, especially when he's under contract until 2021? Right. I think something like that. So I would, even with his injury history, I'd be horrified to trade him, because I know I'd probably get fired after it.
Well, that's the interesting part of Woj's story that's on ESPN.com. He talks about his personality, and he's not out there forcing these things, and it sort of plays against him to exactly what you were talking about here.
That article is perfect, because it tells you Anthony Davis in that Woj piece is making fun of the dudes in the NBA that are hashtag on that grind after every single workout. He's like, why don't I just go get 30 and 15, and you can see that I'm on that grind.
Exactly.
You know, like, why do I have to tell you about my box jumps today?
He's about the results as opposed to the process, which is really interesting. You mentioned Embiid. We all love sort of the energy that he's brought in Ben Simmons and the things that he can do as a huge point guard for the Sixers, but they are stumbling. They're 2 games under 500 now. They've lost 7 of 8. How concerned are you about them not finding their way now?
Very concerned, and here's why. Because in the beginning of the year, guys, when I was going on SportsCenter, we were talking about the Sixers, I felt like I was on this island where I'd go, the NBA tells us that young teams usually aren't very good. And I love Embiid, and I love Simmons. I was a guy arguing against people telling me Simmons was lazy in college, and I go, the LSU thing was a mess, and you can't get like 10 boards a game in the SEC and be lazy. So he's terrific. When it's right, it looks really good, because it's Embiid, it's Simmons, it's Covington, it's Saric, it's so much length. But young teams usually aren't very good defensively, and we've had 3 anomalies this year where the Boston Celtics are number 1 in defense, which is a young team. We have the Lakers, which is a weird roster, and a young team, as a top 10 defense. And you've had Philly as a top 10 defense for most of this, although they're starting to slip a little bit. We knew with the Embiid stuff, with him not playing all the time, it was going to be because they'd have to become completely different, not just defensively, guys, but offensively. And last night's game, they were a train wreck on offense. They were trying different things with Simmons. Then they tried to post him. They had no JJ, so they had no spacing. And they lose to a Sacramento team that isn't very good. So a young team, especially with this roster, as much as I love the talent and what it could be, I was very surprised when people talk about them as a 45, 50-win playoff team that could really challenge teams. And I think you're going to see them regress at times defensively, and I think there's going to be other nights where Simmons and Embiid get this thing going and they can beat really good teams. But the more likely outcome for a young Sixers roster is that they'd probably struggle to be 500, and that's kind of where they're at right now.
Yeah, they're literally 2 games under after the last couple of losses. Ryan, you're one of the best, man. We love having you on the show, appreciate breaking down everything. Ryen Russillo,
thanks so
show
much,
on
guys.
today, later on ESPN Radio.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Now our ESPN front office insider. Bill, you called that game on ESPN Radio, so you were there as this review was going through, and it was over 3 minutes, right? The review was over 3 minutes.
3 minutes and 20 seconds.
It's only supposed to be a minute and a half. What were you and Adam, Adam Amin was the play-by-play guy, what were you guys talking about as you watched this unfold?
Well, first of all, when we saw it in real time, what we saw was a guy go down on one knee, possess the ball, reach it over the goal line, and then have the ball come loose. That's what it looked like in real time.
Right.
And everybody said touchdown. The officials on the field said touchdown. The crowd went wild. It was Pittsburgh's performance was one of the most courageous performances I've ever seen. It was one of the most exciting games I've ever seen. Todd Haley did one of the great jobs, maybe in the history of the game, changing his offensive game plan on the fly when AB went down. They became a power-running team. And went back to the old Bill Cowher offense.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. It was tremendous. And they did almost everything right absent cover Gronk. And they covered him man-to-man in the entire second half.
Not good.
And never won one.
Yeah.
But So it was exciting and tremendous, and the stakes were high, and the building was electric. And now you got this incredible catch and run that sets up this particular play.
The Juju Smith-Schuster
Juju
play.
Smith beats Rowe, who was beaten to a pulp all day. Adam said at the end of that play, Rowe hasn't made a play all day. No, he hadn't. And
made the one he
made the one he needed at the end.
We'll wait. Let's get there. And so now we got this play, and everybody says touchdown, and the place went wild. So now we go to review, and the review drags on. And we're on the air saying, well, it sure looks like a touchdown. We see a knee down, then we see a reach, and then we see the ball over the goal line, and then when the ball hits the ground. So, you immediately say ball breaks the plane in the possession of the runner, touchdown. Then the league office comes back and says, no, he was going to the ground. And when you look at the replay, by the way, we did not get a clear replay in the booth, and I'm not sure that Jimmy Nantz and Tony Romo did either. But the fact of the matter is, later that night when I saw it, it was clear that the ball was moving. So that, by rule,
that trumped everything.
Is not a catch. And then Mike Pereira came out and said, going to the ground trumps everything.
Right.
Okay. So now the next play occurs. If you look at it, there is definitely DPI on Rowe's part. He shoves him in the back.
On the Eli Rogers play that was intercepted.
He comes right through his back. He knocks him forward. There should have been a flag there. As we all know, that's never called.
Right.
The officials swallow the flag in that situation.
Right. And I'm not saying anything as a former defensive player. I'm letting it go.
That's quite all right. You're exempted. We understand that. So, not only incredible game, but crazy ending. And now everybody's talking about it. I made 2 calls yesterday to 2 experts, one Sunday night, another yesterday, to 2 experts on with whom I served on the committee. Everybody has the same view of it, but here is the overall problem. Forget the outcome of the game.
Right.
These 2 teams will likely play again, and let's hope AB is there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the issue. Let's go to the Golden Tate play earlier in the season against Atlanta. If Atlanta wins the next 2 games and goes to the playoffs, and Detroit goes home, even though they win the next 2 games, it'll be on a tiebreaker.
Right.
That call will have decided who goes to the playoffs.
And that was the call that was on the field, ruled a catch, but then they reviewed it.
No, it was ruled a touchdown.
It was ruled a touchdown. Yes, that's what I meant. You ruled a touchdown, and then they had the 10-second runoff because it was ruled he was short.
In addition
the game
to that,
was over.
which has to come out.
Yeah.
That has to come out.
The 10-second run out, you want it to come out.
No question.
How many years were you on the competition committee?
21.
So you speak with a lot of experience here. You want that 10-second runoff out.
Absolutely. It's completely unjust. The team didn't institute the review. The booth did. Why are you penalized 10 seconds for it? Secondly, the issue is this. In the Golden Tate play, no one in the building, no one watching television, no one who watched it afterwards in real time ever saw his knee go down. Why? Because it happened so fast that the human eye can't see it. And now we go to replay, and we take a 4K camera, and we move it slow, and we see the knee hit, and now it hit a millisecond before he went over the goal line, therefore no touchdown. I pose this question: is that the game we want going forward? People that I know in the league, whose judgment I respect incredibly, tell me, hey, Bill, it's a video game world. The younger generation wants that. Well, this is an old school guy who doesn't want that. I think we got to be really careful about how we officiate in super slow-mo because everything is distorted. It may not be wrong, but it's clearly distorted.
So along those lines, we had Jon Gruden on earlier who basically said the same thing you did. He said, let's take the microphones off the officials. I don't want to know who the penalty was on. You guys just make the call in real speed. You see a play and you make the call that you think is right out there. Is that basically what you're saying? Or are you saying only use replay for like out of bounds or a catch or get rid of it all?
No, I go a little more depth than John. although his sentiment is correct. It's okay in slow-mo on the sidelines because the lines don't move, right? But once you begin to use it to determine how a player played the game, other than tapping 2 feet, now you've said to the officials, you can't officiate anymore because you're not capable as human beings of seeing this. We're going to a machine to decide whether or not this play was a touchdown or was not a touchdown. I think that's going down a very, very, very slippery slope for 2 reasons that are apparent immediately. Number one, not all games are equal as to cameras and the quality of cameras.
That is a very good point. It's like the golf rule calling in things because not everybody's on TV.
Great minds think alike.
There you go.
That's the other issue. Do you want someone in New York after everybody in the building and everybody watching on television said touchdown, Golden State scored, Detroit wins the game, to say, whoa, hold it. We looked at this in super slow-mo, and guess what? He didn't score.
So let me ask you this question, because you've been in that, as you said, over 2 decades in the competition committee. You were there when the replay was thrust into the NFL for the first time.
And then thrown out.
Exactly.
For these very same reasons, by the way.
So where were you then on replay and how you would use it, and where are you now? How has that changed?
First of all, when it first came in, Coach Shula convinced me, and he was its biggest proponent, that we could do it and get it right. Mr. Wilson, for whom I was working with the Buffalo Bills at
Ralph
the time,
Wilson, the owner,
was no. But he said, Mr. Wilson, being the man he was, said to me, you vote your conscience in the competition committee. Now, when we come out, I'm voting no. Yeah. When it comes on the floor, I'm voting no. But you vote your conscience and make the case to me, which I did. So I was in favor originally. Then we saw it go bad. All the things that Paul Brown had said in the committee were going to take place. Games dragged out, infinitesimal replays, inconsistency of replay officials, misapplication of the rules. Everything that we thought were the bad things that could happen did happen. And as a result, it was thrown out. And there was no hue and cry. There was an incredible hue and cry. You were playing at the time. Yep. There were arguments, friendships that over decades ended because of instant replay. It was the most emotionally charged issue I'd ever encountered in all my career. When it was removed, people went, forget it. Thank God it's gone. Now, fast forward 1999, I think, Vinny Testaverde fumbles the ball on the goal line.
Short against Seattle.
Right.
They miss it. Dennis Erickson from Seattle gets fired. And Commissioner Tagliabue says, there's a hue and cry here. We got to do something about this. We got to be able to fix the obvious errors. So we said, okay, don't change it for the playoffs. There was a movement to change it for the playoffs. That would have been bad. That would have been bad. Don't do it. He agreed. But he said, you guys got to come up with something. So what we came up with was 2 challenges per game, 4 instant replay reviews. And in those days, I think only a minute in length.
Right.
And the standard was incontrovertible video evidence. Now, we said, how do you define incontrovertible video evidence? And Mike Holmgren said, it's 50 guys in a bar. They look at the television set and they say, that's a fumble.
Right.
That's the standard. Not 50 drunks in a bar, which it's been corrupted too.
Which is that was Golic's
That's
point.
what I said.
Where are they in the bar?
That guy had 10 drinks. That guy had 2 drinks. So 50 sober guys before they get drunk.
Now, but here's the point.
Okay.
We now have drifted away from that standard back to the get it right standard. We think by stitching together replay after replay after replay, we'll get it right. I agree. I wholeheartedly disagree with that approach.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.